Although it was known as a sacred site created by the nearby villagers, the 13 Buddhas, as they came to be known, were also famous as a ghost spot thanks to a local magazine pointing out that the area appeared to be haunted. After that, more and more tourists started showing up, and some even broke the sacred statues for fun. Rumours then began to spread that the tourists who broke the statues were cursed and suffered a terrible fate. Either way, the statues weren't something you should mess with. She wanted to go there with her friends one day, but on the morning they were due to set out, she suddenly came down with awful stomach pains. They were, quite frankly, too bad to deal with, and so she unfortunately had to cancel. Her friends sent her some photos, but it wasn't the same as actually being there. And she really did want to go there and see it with her own 2 eyes. But the next time she attempted to go, she broke out in a fever. It seemed that, for whatever reason, something was keeping her from going. And perhaps that was for the best. She heard from another friend who went after she got back home that day that her cat started hissing and wouldn't go near her. Almost like she brought something horrible back with her. And it wasn't until the next day that her cat started acting normal again. Although Inunaki Ridge and Inunaki Tunnel are undoubtedly the most famous haunted locations in Fukuoka Prefecture, there's another that many claim is even more haunted and dangerous than those. And that is the 13 Buddhas that can be found in Mizuhara. In Japan, the 13 Buddhas are, as they sound, a grouping of 13 different Buddhist deities, bodhisattvas, and wisdom kings that are worshipped, particularly in the Shingon sect. This particular site, a 20-minute drive from Nishimuta Station, is full of statues depicting those different deities and sacred figures, said to have been placed there by nearby villagers. Once you reach the site, you can find a statue of Furo Myo at the entrance to a cave, but once you go in, it gets even more terrifying. The cave is filled with statues, particularly Jizo statues, and many of them are broken, headless, or said to have terrifying expressions and even strange colours. For example, there's the headless Jizo, the angry Jizo, and the red Jizo, amongst others. One rumour states that during the Edo period, the cave was already full of statues and considered to be sacred. But then, towards the end of the Edo period, gamblers took over the cave and turned it into a gambling den. And because it was always filled with bats, the area also came to be known as Bat Valley. As such, people looked at it as an unlucky, negative area. In order to get rid of that negative image, 9 villagers then decided to fill the area with Buddhist statues again, and return it to a sacred site, doing so in 1902. Some were even carved out of the cave walls themselves, and Buddhists from the Shingon sect continued to pray there until before the war. After the war, however, it was mostly left unoccupied. Initially, the villagers' efforts appeared to have worked, but being a cave in the middle of nowhere, now filled with statues, some broken, some angry, some headless, and abandoned by those who originally worshipped there, it naturally picked up an even scarier association as time went on. Now, instead of being negative and unlucky because of the bats and gamblers, it was negative and unlucky because of ghosts and angry deities. Although many of the bats are still there too. It's also said that a group of kids who visited the site and painted some of the statues red ended up in a traffic accident on their way home, lending even more credence to the idea that the site was haunted. And since then, the stories have only grown. For example, It's said that if you visit the 13 Buddhas and laugh, then you might be mistaken for those same youngsters who painted the statues as a prank, and end up suffering a fate similar to theirs. If you're also silly enough to break or otherwise harm a statue, the same fate also awaits. Numerous people also claim that the Jizo statues often move. If you see it in one spot during one visit, then it's very possible you'll see it somewhere else next time. This one doesn't seem too far-fetched, as the site is still managed, and it's not impossible that statues might get moved around from time to time. Not in a ghostly manner, but purely by those maintaining the area. If you happen to have an affinity with the other side, you're also strongly warned against visiting the 13 Buddhas because it's said those with a strong sixth sense are likely to get possessed after going there, or perhaps simply bringing something back with them, something unwanted. Finally, even without a sixth sense, it's said that you might run into some regular, run-of-the-mill ghosts there. In particular, a woman in a white dress is the most commonly sighted, but there are reports of a young boy seen around the area as well. You can find reports, videos, and blog entries all over the internet from people who have visited the site, with many still warning others today to stay away. There's no end to the claims of feeling ill after visiting the cave, of feeling overwhelmed by something once there, or the unshakable feeling that they brought something back with them. The statues, or at least their remains, are still there today, and whether you believe in the supernatural or not, it's just common sense not to mess with something so important and historical. It would be a shame to lose yet another important part of local history. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below, and if you'd like to help support this channel so you can see more content like this, please consider hitting that join button down below as well. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time.